Good evening and welcome. This is Dr. Jim Palermo, MELS 603, Resource Management and School Law, and tonight we have a guest speaker with us, former GW student Terrance McCotter, currently assistant principal at Sanderson High School here in Raleigh, and again, was sitting in your seat not too very long ago, and now an assistant principal at Sanderson High. Well, we are talking about student discipline and student behavior management, and a whole lot of the job that some of you will be doing or are already doing as assistant principals and administrators in schools is discipline. So how to do that while ensuring that students' due process rights are observed according to the Constitution. Clarence is here. Clarence. Terrance is here. Clarence Thomas, I'll make you a Supreme Court justice before you're done. Terrance is here to share with us some stuff about student due process. Thanks a bunch for coming tonight, Terrance.
Is there someone I need to stand over here?
Yeah, if you come over, then you'll be on camera. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
maybe move
Thank you.
around there.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys for having me. First of all, I don't want to be repetitive or say things that you already know, but I want to be here for you and as a support to you guys as you move forward with this program. When are you all finishing up? Is it this
August?
August. Okay, so good. So we're getting to that point, and I just want to be a support and a help, a resource for you. I want this to be a discussion, so we can, if you have questions, let me know, or if you have input, please feel free. Okay, I don't want to just pretend like I know everything, because we don't. In the red book, I had it over here somewhere. We go by this a lot, but we know that it's not just black and white when we're dealing with kids. And you do that in the classroom, you do that when you're working with students. It's not black and white. So I just want to have discussions. We can talk as much as you feel we need to. I did start out with a little bit about a day in the life of AP, because when I started, I'm telling you, to be honest with you, a lot of it starts out with learning on the job. You learn a lot of things on the job. You think you know, you think you understand, you see APs in the building when you're teaching, but it doesn't really get to you until you actually experienced it. So like tomorrow I have 2 IEPs meetings planned. I have lunch duty, which can be anywhere from, if I get a chance to take one of the lunches off, I'll have one of them off, but they're usually 2 hours because we get caught up doing something during lunch. Observation I got planned, and then I start trying to look at my discipline after that, and another IEP after school. Now that's what I have on paper, but what ends up happening a lot is the kids are there. And when the kids are there, things don't always end up the way you want them. So the IEPs maybe the morning always starts out, okay, yeah, we're going through the day. Once lunch happens, the kids wake up, in my eyes, and I see a lot of, kids, especially when depending on what lunch you do, ABC lunch. In high school we do either ABC lunches. Last year we did smart lunch where they had a whole hour where they were pretty much, roaming around the building or going to classes if they needed to. That's when a lot of discipline issues begin. A lot of times, if there's a disruption is going to happen or a fight or something, kids get warmed up during that lunchtime. So then once that happens, your day changes after lunch and you got investigations and calls and paperwork and things that's thrown at you that you have to take care of. So I just wanted to kind of just start out like that, just saying how things can change. Discipline for me is about changing behavior. It's not really going by this, okay, you got in a fight, so it's 5 days now, automatic. I want to get a relationship with the students. I want to know them, know where they're coming from, know the parents, get involved, and I want them to know that I care and that my goal for them is to be better when, since they started. One way I want to be better than what they were before. And I also want them to graduate from high school. That's my goal, So if the kids understand that, then when it gets to the point where it gets hot and the kids are angry, upset, they respond a little better. They know that you care or you've tried to have a relationship with them. So I want to change behavior, and at the minimum, support that change. If I don't make the complete change, they don't turn around for me miraculously, then at least I planted some seed. That's what I think we all have to be about, planting seeds. The reason we're doing this job is to be able to affect change at a bigger spectrum in the school community. Getting out of the classroom, being able to talk to, students, teachers, how you can help support them. People in central office, working with them to help support the school community, the parents, getting them involved. Those are things that really become accessible to you as an administrator. So that's what I'm about here. A lot of the push, before we get into suspensions in this book, Wake County, we have a lot of alternative to suspension, and I wanted to get those to you as well. We talked about, the ways you see, in-school suspension, ISS, we all have them in our schools, behavior contracts, ALC is real big in Wake County now, having kids a chance to, not as necessarily a punishment like ISS would be, but more of a resource so they can get their work done. You have a certified teacher there that can work on them with their work. If a kid is being disruptive or not keeping up or something like that, you can use ALC as an option. Conferences, use those to your advantage, and obviously you got your lunch and after school detention. So a lot of times before you get into some of this, you want to start somewhere with them. It doesn't matter, really, this is one of the major critical violations. A lot of times you start here, and that's what, and we work with them. The very first time I meet a kid, especially a freshman, I'll have a conversation, we'll have a conference. What were you thinking? What happened? Mr. McCotter, you need to use me as a resource. Don't act like you can do what you did, last year. Have those conversations. I'm gonna give you another chance. Let's see what happens next time. Then it escalates to stuff like this, and then maybe we can get to it based on the severity of the infraction. And I'll talk about some other factors like the aggravated mitigating factors as well. Did you have your hand?
I did have a quick question. Is in-school suspension and ALC, the Alternative Learning Center, is the Alternative Learning Center on site? I mean, is that just
Yes.
means just that there's a
Yeah.
teacher in there, learning is going to continue?
When I have ALC here, this is an on-site classroom, ALC teacher. So ISS basically, you send the kids, they do something, you send them in ISS, they sit there, they're working on their own, they're quiet for the most part. ALC we use as a tier 3 intervention. When we know the kid, it may not be a behavior that we're doing it because of, they're just skipping a lot. Every time they come, we can't keep them focused, they're having an issue with their grades. It's an intervention that we use to keep those kids in a classroom separate from everyone else, but they can have a certified teacher helping them with their work, and their work's getting done.
So it's not necessarily like behavioral punishment
No.
type thing. It's truly like there's another little gray area that
Yeah.
we need to help set
Right.
in. It's not about just you're now being punished.
Right. It's not. We don't market it. Not market, but we don't say it's a
It's
punishment.
not long suspension. Okay.
Yeah, it's an intervention. It's an alternate
Okay.
to having to suspend them.
Thank you.
They're separate, ISS and
Yes.
ALC?
In the high school, we have them separate. ISS, we have our ISS trailer, and we have our ALC classroom. And again, our ISS, we don't have a certified person there. They're really super managing the kids. ALC, we have a teacher there who's certified, who can really help, hopefully, with some of the core classes and keep them along, keep them from falling behind.
Is there a behavior person that's in school suspension?
Behavior?
Yeah, who's manning that? Is it just, you said it's not a certified?
Clerical assistant position usually. From honest, either clerical or teacher assistant position, usually what gets in the ISS classroom. The behavior specialists, they're certified special ed teachers. They are a separate classroom for some of our kids with special behavior needs.
Okay.
Yep. Great questions. Thank you. Types of suspension. This is all here now, and I know you got a handout too about suspensions. Summer suspension. When I'll go through this as briefly as you want me to. Summer suspension. If I had a situation where I know these two kids got in an argument, they were about to go at it, and the first time I've ever had an interaction with them, but I didn't feel comfortable with them being on campus. I wanted to keep, make sure that they had a chance to cool off for that day, and I wanted to make sure that nothing else happened on campus or escalated. I would just send them home summary. It wouldn't be something that I typed up as an official document. It would be a summary suspension. I could use a summary for that. At the same time, I could use a summary for time for me to investigate. If I had something where a kid maybe got involved with something they shouldn't have been, with drugs or something, and I don't have all the facts yet, but I know they got involved with something and I don't need them on campus, I'll say this is a summary suspension, you go home for the day. I will call you the next day and let you know what the official determination is or what happened or what the outcome will be. So that's when we use summary. You can usually, if you read about the book, you get 1 day for that. Really, it's 1 day. You can't just keep saying I'm summary. You got that day. Now you got to make a determination. You got to call, make those calls, and figure out what you're going to do after that summary. Short term is not to exceed 10 days. If you're going by the book, and we'll break it down a little bit later on. Once you get up to over 10 days, it becomes a long-term suspension. Now, as administrators, as principals, as APs, you don't just say a student is long-term. You can tell a student you're recommended for long-term, but all those determinations as far as suspension for long-term, central office has to make the final call on that. We can only do a recommendation for long-term. That's why I put recommendation there. That's for your major level 3, level 4, level 5. Level 2, as long as you have aggravating factors, you can do the long-term suspension. So generally we work within that short-term range, 0 to 10 days.
Do you guys discuss amongst, like, before that, you get together,
Yeah.
kind of get,
The
talk it out?
The best resource is using each other. I never want to make a huge decision without consulting at least one other AP or the principal. For the long terms, the principals have to sign the long terms. APs can't sign the long terms. So I definitely got to let him read it, go over it. If he asks questions of how I did an investigation or something in the wording doesn't make sense, then he'll ask me, then we'll make sure we clarify it before we turn it in. So yeah, we do a lot of collaboration, especially for the bigger cases. Yeah. In the book, like I said, know the book. It's all online. Board policies 6400, 6500, 66. All those policies go into the code of conduct, the rules, the violations, the search and seizure. When can you search? Those kind of things, as well as different mitigating factors that you can use when you're talking about suspending a kid. All right. Level 1, I gave you the handout. You may already have stuff like this anyway. But all your level 1 violations that you see, 1, 1, 1, 2, what happens is Wake County considers those less serious. You can't do an automatic out-of-school suspension for those. There's no OSS for level 1 unless you have documented that the same infraction has happened 3 times. Or you can say that if you try to in-school intervention, like ISS, AOC, behavior, something, if you try to in-school and the student outright refused it, then you can say, okay, he's going home for level 1. That's and that's the one we see all the time, really. Your non-compliance, your electronic devices, skipping school, trespassing, tobacco products. Those are your level 1s in which you would have to really have to do a plan with those kids when you're talking about level 1. 3 documented interventions, then you can discuss sending them home. And it's only up to 2 days for any level 1. There's no going above 2 days. They won't even take it. Okay, so that's your level 1 violations. Level 2, you got 0 to 5, up to 5 days. And that is some of your big ones there: class activity disruption. You have school disturbance. There's lighters, things like that. It's all in there. And when you have something there, you can use up to 5 days for a level 2 inspection. Now, when you get to level 2, you also have the opportunity to aggravate it. If there's multiple instances that the student did the same level 2, or it was a very, very severe, like it was a bad threat or a bad fight that really should be aggravated, then you can do a recommendation for long term, but you have to have aggravating factors type. And I'll go over that too, and I'll show you some paperwork too when that comes into play. But generally, 0 to 5, if you do a long term, you have to have plenty of good aggravating factors there. Level 3, drugs, alcohol, assault on the student. It's a little different from just fighting. Fighting between 2 students, you just fisticuffs, you're going, break it up. Okay, 2 students, pretty even fight. Assault is when if a student gets a better hand and they try to inflict very serious injury. That would be a level 3. It's going up to level 3 now. There's other things in the level 3 category, but that's when you have more grounds to recommend a long-term suspension. And what you would do is, we always, as administrators, we make short-term, which is, the wording would be, you say 10-day suspension, but you want to recommend for a long-term. All right, then that central office, the discipline review committee, a central office, they'll determine whether or not it's going to be upheld as a long-term, or they'll say, well, no, bring it back. You need to do some more. It'll be maybe a short-term stay at 10 days, such like that. Okay? You also have the right to level 3 to mitigate it. If there was, let's say, I'm just using examples here now, for bringing a weapon. A kid, you always hear about the case where a kid accidentally brought a knife on campus. He forgot to take it out of his pocket. And this kid had the best grades in the world, a lot of things that you can mitigate that down with. You don't necessarily want to go by the book, say it's going to be an absolute long term. You want to mitigate it down to maybe 8 or 9 days. You can do that for a level 3 as well, as long as you have those factors in there tight in your suspension reports. Level 4 and level 5, we don't see as much things, destructive stuff, the explosions, acts of terror, those things. You start talking about expulsion from any Wake County school. It's one thing to say you're expelled, what the kids like to say expelled, where you're long term from that particular school for the remainder of the year. But expulsion means any Wake County school, period. And that's on level 4, level 5. And that really is based on central office. Central office is really going to be involved with that. And those are the huge cases that we don't want to happen on any campus. So. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions? I don't want to get too wordy. All right. Due process. And we're going to do a couple of examples. Time permitting, I think we'll have time. But due process, generally what happens when a violation occurs, immediately an investigation must happen, must begin. And an investigation, I'll go into a little bit more detail.
Written it.
Yeah.
Say, read that. Did I get it right? And ask the kid to sign it. Then it's definitely a legal
And
document.
you're gonna talk them through what they've written.
Yes,
You
yes.
wrote down.
You go over it and you let them look at it again, and then, yeah. And you
If they
def-
refuse to sign or write, you just write
Student
student
refused.
refused, was offered and student
Yeah.
refused.
A lot of times in the narrative, I'll just put that down at the end. Student refused to write a statement. Student refused to give a statement. So, but then you also have to talk about the other pieces of investigation that you did to support your consequence.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a very detailed description in your suspension.
Yes. I've learned best practice from when I did my internship and worked with my old principal. I just try to be as detailed as possible. Don't leave anything out. I don't try to, censor it. I mean, this is what happened, so I let it go ahead and, I want them to get the whole picture. Especially when you get to your long terms and there's a possibility for an appeal, you want them to get the whole picture. When they're reading it, they gotta, be there. You want them to be there. So that's why I'm as detailed as I can be. Everybody does it different, yeah.
I'm sorry, when you're doing a summary like this, which is, it's good that it's so detailed, so this is written by you.
Yes.
So if you weren't in the room when it was said, you didn't have to say like, teacher stated.
Yeah.
Teacher said, and like, that she or he is quoting what
Mhm.
you heard the kid say.
That's when I put quotes in.
Okay, gotcha.
I get the teacher statements, the student statements, and I put those quotes in,
Okay.
and I include that, yes. Yeah, and that happens more often than not, too. I mean, that happens a lot, where you're not there, and you come at the tail end.
You get it, yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go off what you found out from the investigation and use those quotes.
Okay.
Yep. Like for this one, this particular incident here, if you read through it, I wasn't there for the fight. It was in class. I got there at the very end, but I had enough evidence from the teacher, both students, their stories matched, so I had enough to say this is what happened. This is my evidence. Yeah. A lot of times, what happens is if the stories don't match at all, then you gotta go further. Yeah.
How far do you? I'm working with a couple of principals that they seem to go way too far into same thing, fight. I hit him, he hit me, we both swung.
Right.
They both admit to it. Is that done?
For everybody's different.
Yeah,
For me, it's done. Yeah. For me, if I know that I got both students, they got the same story, they match their stories, and I keep them separate anyway. They don't have time to really collaborate, get that thing together. I may go for a couple more student witness statements. Okay. But if I see that there's some similarities there, I'm going to go with that particular evidence. Yeah. I really, put a lot of weight on the teachers. As professionals, teachers, they're going to give me great witness statements or whatever as well, and I trust their statements for sure. It's even better if you have camera footage. You can go off that too, and that confirms a lot of it. Any other questions?
Good questions.
All right. Oh, another piece, number 6 there, notify teachers. Any suspensions, their email has to go out to teachers that this is what happened. You don't tell them the details, but their child is out of school for so many days. They'll return back to your class after this many days. Please, per our policy, Wake County, do not give any academic penalty, give them a chance to make up any work they missed. We have to give that email for every single suspension we do to teachers so that they know to expect the child back and they'll get to work together. Best practice for a 5-day or more is to give the parent the opportunity to come in within those 5 days or the long term to get to work themselves so they can take it home to the child. So if I have anywhere from 4 to 5 and up, I'll ask parents, what day can you come pick up work? Can you come get it for your child? That will help out so they won't fall too far behind. That's a good practice for all of us to make sure we do as well.
Can I give you a scenario real quick?
Yes.
Just curious. Your lunch periods, how do your lunch periods?
We do ABC lunch now, 3 lunches.
Okay, so your students are able to leave campus for lunch?
We have junior seniors can leave.
Okay, so they already signed a permission slip, so the
Yeah,
parents are
our
allowed.
junior they have passes, little IDs that say they can leave.
So if you hear that 2 kids got in a fight during lunch off campus, does that still fall within school?
Yes.
Discipline, it does, okay.
Yes. And when I discipline talk to the kids, We talk to parents all the time. Parents don't believe it. They don't like that. Any fight that happens, we say nexus. If there's a connection to the school, if we know two students that they may have started here or something happened at school that led to that, if we know it could come back, or if the fight happened and we know that something can trickle back here where we get some remnants of it, then yeah, we do suspend. That's off campus, that's bus stop, games, anything. Yeah, any connection, if we can find a connection to the school, yeah.
And what's the legal precedent? In loco parentis.
Yeah. Something that got dicey last year, we had a group of young ladies. They continued to have a lot of drama. It was ongoing, and the parents even knew about it. They were in a way involved, but they didn't like each other either. So we had some times where the parents say that they were going to meet up and say we're going to squash this, but it ended up not ending well. So there was altercation, and the parents said, well, they argued over, I guess, who started it and what happened, and we still had to issue the discipline because we knew that some of the drama was happening at the school as well. So we had to, even though parents didn't like any of them, they were there. I won't say sponsored, but they were there, and it just made it a very difficult situation. But yeah.
Okay.
All right, witness, for investigations, first thing I jump to, you got your due process, student can respond. That's my first piece of evidence. What does the student say about it? What's their response to what happened? Then we go to witness statements, searches if necessary, camera footage, staff statements, determining any nexus. We just talked about that. And after it's all said and done, you have to go preponderance of evidence. What's your best judgment with this incident? What happened? Because you may not get all the facts. Because kids, they make up stories so fast that they don't even keep up with them themselves. They'll make up something quick. So you may not get everything you want. You may not get a satisfying piece of evidence. So now you have to use your best judgment when you're doing your investigation. Searching students, the big key there, we all know is reasonable suspicion. Another thing that's good about this search thing is different from the police. The police, they need the probable cause. We need reasonable suspicion. If we reasonably have a suspicion that a student may be carrying something or have something on them, then we can go ahead and do a search. A big piece of that that's gotten some people in trouble, make sure that you have two people there, two administrators, not just two people, two administrators, that's best practice. And if you're going to do a pat down, which that's only really necessary, then make sure it's somebody of the same sex that's doing the pat down. And then, don't go too far with the pat down. I mean, anything can come back on us. We know that. We had something in the news. Centennial had something. And it can always be exaggerated, but the news loves to eat that up. They can get whatever they got the student to say, they can put it on the news, and everybody thinks that's what happened, So just be careful when you're doing searches. Student grievances and appealing long terms, that's another piece of due process that happens after the fact. Once our MELS is home, let's say parent still doesn't agree, they can't stand the short-term suspension that we said, they can do a student grievance. They can grieve to the principal. That means we have to have a conference within 5 days with the parent and the student. And they'll discuss why they're grieving. And then if they still don't like our decision, then it'll go to the superintendent. And then they do the same thing. The superintendent has to provide a letter. If it still doesn't happen, then they can go to the school board.
And it's all on a timeline, right? Of
Yeah.
when they can put it in.
You got 5 days for the school level.
It's written. It's written.
It's written. It's all written. It's in the board policies as well. Yeah, check it out. I think it's in the 6,000s as well. We got 5 days for the school level. Maybe I think 5 more days for superintendent. And I think it's the 20 for school board. And I've been to the school board last year. I went there last year, and we had to. And that's more to the principal, obviously, but we had to explain a case where the student didn't agree with ALC placement, and it got to the point where the school board had to hear it. We ended up it got upheld. But it happens. And a lot of times parents just want to make a point, so they keep it going. And this was in the summer, this past summer, after the school year was over, we were still going through the process of grieving. A student didn't want to be in ALC at the end of the year, that kind of thing. So, appeal. Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. What happens is you have a 5-day suspension, and so all this appealing process starts. Well, the suspension, the 5 days already occurred. So what is the retribution? What is what's?
The only thing the parent can get out of it at that point is attendance can be changed at the school, and this goes out if it's, overturned. Yeah, that goes out. That's the only thing. When, as administrator, sometimes you get 5 days, they're still out 5 days, but on paper and computers, that's turned out, yeah. And then for appeal hearing, that's a long-term suspension. If they don't agree with an appeal hearing, they have the right to appeal, and there's a whole process there's a whole office of student due process at central office, and where you'll have a case. And actually, I think it's in the board policies online, but the process is in the back of this book, and I just pass that around too. It's in the back. What happens during an appeal process? You have a chance to present your case as a school. The family can present. Sometimes lawyers get involved, and that can stretch it out a little bit more. But there's different cases presented. The panel, which consists of usually AP, a retired principal, and maybe somebody from central office, they're able to hear the case. They're kind of like the jury, and then they'll make the determination as to whether it's going to be upheld or not.
Is that the one they record?
Yes, record audio. Yep.
That in there?
Yeah. So that's for long terms. And usually, if those are overturned, then the student will be able to come back. And again, this goes out. If it's upheld, they also have to make a determination of how many days. If I want it the rest of the year, the panel may decide, oh, that's too much, let's do semester. It's still long term, you still win, but I'm going to knock it back down to a semester. The panel can make that decision too.
But you're not there when they make the decision, or is it?
They usually do it pretty quick afterwards.
Okay.
If I want to stick around, I do. If not, then they'll just call me. They don't let me know the decision. Yeah, but I'm not in there when they're doing it. Yeah.
Is it three teachers?
Yeah, it's 3 people on the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 people.
And the students can choose somebody, can't they?
Now that's how they used to do it. Not anymore.
They don't do like
No.
that anymore, okay.
Now it's all central office. It used to be that we did it at the school.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now every appeal hearing goes it's at central office, and, down there in Cary, and they usually do 1 AP, central office person, and a retired principal, whoever they pick. So we have nothing to do with who's on the panel.
It's more.
Yeah.
So how's that schedule like? I mean,
The Office of Student Due Process, they schedule them. Once it's in here, if the parents turn in the appeal paperwork, they'll give them a time. We'll have to be there.
Gotcha.
Yep. Yeah. And as APs, we're encouraged to be a part of the panel, help out, because, we all, if I'm turning mine in, it's my turn to turn this in and do this side of it, then I want to support the next AP that's doing it and be there, so we want to make sure we have somebody there to be a part of the panel at some point. So a lot of times, student due process, they'll send out emails, say sign up when you can to help out and do a panel. So we all try to give at least 1 panel a year, that type of thing. Okay. Real quick, special considerations when you're suspending. Aggravating factors, a long list of them. That's in the book as well. What's the aggravating factor? We have a level 2. What makes it a long term if you want to aggravate it? Things like attendance, they're never here, or their attitude when you were going through the investigation, or they lied, they weren't forthcoming. Those are things you can use to aggravate a situation. Steal and trying to intimidate someone, trying to make somebody else lie, or threatening during the investigation, doing other things. Their grades, you can use grades, you can use something that I've used before, which is in here, is if you have a 19-year-old student who's dealing with a 14-year-old. That's aggravated. This 19-year-old should not have, been messing with a 14-year-old student. Those kind of things are aggravating factors. Mitigating, if you choose to mitigate something down to a lesser suspension, then you could do no history at all. They have no disciplinary history at all. Then that's something that can mitigate your suspension. They've done something, it's appropriate restitution. They helped out with the investigation. They were very forthcoming. Those things you can use. They were very respectful. They calmed down. And it's always confidential. A lot of kids, that word there is so powerful in our buildings now. Snitching and things that the kids are so nervous just to say anything. So I really just understand what the kids are now. We have to understand it. So we try to support and help them understand that everything's confidential. Another piece for mitigating, level 3-1, which is drugs, alcohol, and narcotics. The first offense for level 3-1, Wake County offers a drug counseling program, saying that it's really a long-term suspension because it's level 3, but because it's their first time, they get a chance. They get 5 days out of school. They can sign up for the program, the drug program, which Wake County pays for the first one, and then they can come back to school after that 5 days, as long as they promise they're going to do the program. That's the ACE program for first-time drugs. Second time, then it's a long term. Or you can offer another one, but it's 10 days, and they have to pay for the program, or it'll be a long term. And then, like gang, that's another level 3. It's a long term, but if it's their first time wearing a flag or something like that, you can say that's a documented warning. Then the second time, we'll talk about what the suspension will be. So those are the factors when you're looking at them.
When you were talking about snitching, my daughter's in 8th grade,
Mhm.
and just last week she was in the girls' restroom, and she was in the stall, she went to the bathroom, she came out, and there were 4 girls in there,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Go ahead and get out." And she was like, "Well, no, I need to wash my hands." And they're like, "No, seriously, we're getting ready to fight.
Mhm.
You don't want to be in here for it. Get out."
Mhm.
And so she was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Like leaves the bathroom, and then she like saw a teacher she knew, and she was so scared to tell, but she knew she should probably say something. So she was like, "Hey, Mrs. Whoever, you might want to go into the bathroom."
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
they went
yeah.
like that, like winked at the teacher. So that was
Yeah.
the way she was trying not to snitch, but
Yeah.
knew there was gonna be a fight in the bathroom.
Yeah. A lot of times when we're doing something like that, we'll have to give that statement. Like, look, nobody's going to know. This is between me and you, that kind of thing. Kids, they don't want to write statements. I just want to tell you, I want to get out. I'm out of it now. That kind of thing. So yeah, we deal with that a lot. Yeah.
Can you do that, or do you have to have them write down the information?
No, I can take their verbal statement. Yeah, I can take it, and I try to assure them that I'm a man of my word. So if this is what you want to do, you're not feeling comfortable writing something down. Okay, I understand that. I would love for you to, but if you don't want to, I understand. Special education procedures. If you're in special ed, in central office, and you know this already too, but that changes things for your suspensions. It changes things a whole lot. When you're talking about short-term suspensions for students, you really have 10 days to work with before you start having meetings about did you change the placement, and if you did, if it comes out that there's a pattern behind what the student's doing, you have to have the MDR meetings. Yep, manifestation determination review. And that can really get to you sometimes because you have the meeting. If you know the student is acting out because they have a disability emotionally, then the suspension really is out. You gotta they come back to school, you provide some more services, you provide maybe a behavior intervention plan. If it gets too severe, then we talk about maybe alternate settings, a whole other location, but the student comes back if it's a manifestation of their disability. And that happens after 10 days of short-term suspension or at any long-term, where you have to have those meetings. And I've had times when there's meetings every single time I've gotten to 10 days, I knew that this kid, we had to have MDR. Every time I suspended the student, another MDR for that one particular student, over and over again. I think eventually they ended up having a change of setting, but that gets to be, it's part of our job. And personally, I want to be there for the kid. I know the kids may be dealing with it. So when you're talking about the behavior intervention plans and things like that, take those seriously. How can we provide strategies for them to help them, not do the same thing? If they blow up every time somebody says their name, we'll say their last name. Those kind of things. That's just a random example. Yeah, but keep them updated. And in the EASY program, we've been a part of IEP meetings 3 to 6 weeks. If it's a severe case like this, every 3 weeks probably you're gonna have to be in there doing a bit, looking at it and looking at it again, come up with differences. How can you update it and things like that. Really important. And special education does not play. They do not. Oh, you're special. Okay, good. Well, there we go. So there's no playing around there. It's very important to document everything you're doing with our students with special needs, every single intervention you use. Okay? All right. On the last page in there, I just put some questions that you can look at. I know we're going to do a role play here for a couple of these examples. The first one, Dr. Plemmers, did you want to?
Well, whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. Whatever.
Are you?
Yep.
Okay, so given the setup here, Ferris, what's happened?
We got a student,
Jimmy P.
Jimmy P is here. He reported to me yesterday that another kid.
That guy's hassling me, man.
Yeah.
He's making fun of the fact I'm from New Jersey. I can't believe it. Plus, he's cracking on my girlfriend, Gina. I'm going to smack him if you don't shut up.
All right, so I know about this the day before, so now I helped him out. yesterday. Today, we ended up having a situation.
Oh, man. Look, if you got to send me home, McCotter. I don't care. I don't care.
All right, Jimmy, what happened today?
Hey! That guy got my face. He's telling me, hey, you know, New York. He's telling me Gina is a skank. It's my girlfriend. I love her, man. I love her. I just smack him.
Yeah. Did you get in the fight?
Yeah, I got in a fight. Yeah.
All right, tell me what happened. Tell me the details.
Check the cameras right there in the corner, cafeteria.
I understand that, Jimmy.
Okay.
I want to hear from you, though.
Yeah,
Tell me what happened.
Joey came up to me. He's in my face. He's telling me Gina's a skank, you know. I'm like, wow! Put him down on the floor. Kick it, boom.
Who punched first? You punched him first?
You know, he shoved me. That's how it
He shoved
started.
you
That's
first.
how it started. He
Okay.
shoved me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, I told you yesterday. This guy's hassling me. I'm gonna put him down.
Yeah.
My old man tells me you don't take that crap from anybody. You know.
All right, Jimmy, I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you, reporting yesterday. But we talked about what happens if he comes at you again, right? Did you have to
Take me away. Put me in cuffs.
No,
Go ahead.
I need you to listen to me. Now, you got in a fight,
Yeah.
altercation, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know what's going to have to happen because of this, right?
I go home. I know. Yeah.
Now, the last couple of times we dealt with some disruptions you had, we gave you strategies. We talked about keeping it down to a minimum. But we got this fight.
I got a short fuse. The guy got in my face. I couldn't take it, you know?
Yeah. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to call your mom,
Oh!
let her know what happened.
No!
Tell her how many days you suspended. Or not, it's going to be 5 days. Because I believe that even though he may have pushed you, you didn't have to engage in that fight.
Well, you know, my old man told me to fight. My old man says you
Right.
don't take that crap from anybody. Don't let him bully you. You got my old man taught me how to fight.
Well, let me tell you this. In our system, what we say is reasonable force to get away from a fight, that's when you're going to be covered. But the moment you get engaged with that fight and you don't back off, you may not like this, what I'm saying, but that's when you're going to be held responsible. All right, so you're going to be held accountable for this. I want to send you home. It's going to be 5 days.
Oh,
And when you come back, I'm not going to judge you. I want to be a fresh start for you. We're going to figure out how to get
you always
it
been
up.
square with me, Mr. McCotter. I don't have a problem with you.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to go ahead and call mom now, okay?
It's going to be my dad.
Oh,
It's not
yeah.
going to be good.
We'll call Dad.
It's not going to be
We'll
good.
call Dad.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him before. I understand.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Time out. What did y'all see here? What did Mr. McCotter do? Reflect on the due process. Let's hear it.
A good connection with the student.
Okay, so
Broke it down,
he's building relationship with me. He's,
calmed him down a little bit, he was a little agitated.
yeah.
Great rapport, physically even, he sat the way you sat, he got to your level, he didn't stand and intimidate or sit across, or sit across the desk. Even his tonality and his voice, he brought it down when you were maybe bringing it up a little bit, and then you ended up matching his tonality and his voice.
Okay, now what has to happen for minimal due minimal due process?
His side of
The
the story.
the student report.
Yeah. Did he ask me what happened?
Yeah.
Okay, and I told him. Did he tell me the charge against me?
Yes.
Okay, you were in a fight.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's notified me now about my consequence, right? I'm going home 5 days. I heard that.
Gave you a chance to respond.
Yeah, gave me a chance to respond. Good. All right. Questions about that? Or, Karen set you up so well. You know what the process is. You've seen this suspension. That is a masterful piece of work there. By the way, that's.
I wanna know what your dad's gonna say.
Well, next we're going to do part 2 here, and I'm going to be Jimmy P's dad now. So, are you ready? Mr. McCotter's calling home. Pretend we're on the telephone here or something. Okay.
Hey, Mr. P, this is Mr. McCotter.
Wait a minute. From the school?
Yeah, this is from Saxon High School.
Oh, this can't be good.
I want to talk to you about Jimmy again. Jimmy ended up getting into a fight. He got into an
man.
altercation with a student.
Well, that kid was cranking him up. I heard about that yesterday.
Yeah.
This isn't his fault.
We did talk to him. We talked to him about what happened yesterday. We gave him a chance to, let us know, kind of cool off. We gave him strategies to kind of stay away from him. But today he just kind of lost his cool.
Oh.
So he got into an altercation.
What?
He admitted to,
What, he fought?
throwing punches and
Oh.
even kicking him and when he was down. So
No, really?
He did.
Wow.
So because of that, there's going to be a suspension. Jimmy's going to have to stay home for 5 days.
Well, how's he supposed to get his education if you send him home?
He'll be able to get his education. The teacher's not going to penalize him for his work. He'll be able to make up his work when he comes back. Actually, Mr. P, can you come to school in about 3 days from now to get his work? I can give you get teachers some time to make up, get some work together.
I don't know. I'll have to take off work. That's not going to be easy.
Well, I mean, we're open till 3 o'clock, so just let me know.
Oh,
Make it
man.
in.
I can't believe you're putting him out. Oh, God.
Yeah.
He told me that kid was trouble. I knew he was going to get in a fight.
And we had some conversations. I talked to Jimmy. I think he understands where he went wrong and how he could have done it differently.
Well, I taught him to fight, you know.
Yeah, and I understand that, but we have to do our job here as well. We've got to make sure everybody's safe and keep things safe. So, I appreciate you talking to me.
Oh, man. This isn't good. This isn't good. I'm going to appeal.
Yeah. Okay, and if you want to appeal, please let me know. If you have questions about it, we can go to that information as well.
I'll call you back, McCotter.
All right, have a good one. There you go.
Debrief again. What did you see? What did you hear?
Stuck to facts, information, didn't make it emotional. He didn't make it emotional.
Good.
When you brought it there.
So I was trying to get him cranked up and be emotional,
He
and
didn't take the bait.
he didn't.
Stayed
Very
right
very
with the
good job
information.
with that. Okay, questions about any of this stuff so far? Minimal due process. I love, Terrance, that you started off by talking about your philosophy of discipline and all. This is about the kids and about trying to keep them in school and help them graduate. In this case for high school, but same is true K-12. So being able to ensure that you have a safe environment focused on teaching and learning means doing discipline. And an awful lot of your time as an assistant principal is doing this kind of discipline. Thanks for starting with that schedule and showing us, you know, what your plan of the day is, and then and then how it gets sidetracked sometimes too. If there's a fight, if you have to talk to multiple witnesses, that could take hours.
Oh yeah,
right?
it takes an hour a day sometimes up until after school.
And then once you've made your determination, how long do you think this document takes?
Depends on the situation. Something like that, maybe 30 minutes to make sure all your details are there. I'll proofread my stuff over and over because I don't want to put out anything that's messy. So 30 to 45 minutes for something like that.
So
the long terms take a lot more.
Time. But so even on a day-to-day basis, once you've spent hours investigating a fight or taking care of that, then it's another 30 minutes worth of paperwork at the end.
Yeah.
How many hours do you normally, are you at school? How long's your school day?
I get there about 6:30. The kids get there at 6:45, 7 o'clock, and I usually stay average 5 o'clock, 4:30, 5 o'clock. If I have a duty night, my duty night's Fridays right now, so
Football games.
Yeah.
So it's easily 10 or 11 hours every day, and then on a long day, it's going to be
Right.
14, 16 hours.
Yeah, and it varies. It's not the same every day, and that's also another thing I like. Some days I can get out there a little early if I need to, but some days you just can't. So.
What questions do you have for Terrance, either about the due process or about his job as an assistant principal?
How often do you meet with your administrative team?
We do once a week. Once a week we try to do every Tuesdays right now. As long as the kids allow us to, we stay in there for at least one of the periods and get a chance to meet, keep up with everybody.
Match the schedules up.
Yeah, we do calendars, anything that's upcoming, if it's a plan for a teacher work day or early release, those things, discussing what happened in our POTs, all those things come up in. Updates from the principal, if he went to a superintendent's meeting or one of his principal's meetings, then he gives us updates and we know what's coming.
So there's a set weekly meeting Tuesday mornings to get the administrative team together, and that's
Right.
your administrative PLT or PLC or whatever. Good questions. Tara?
I was just gonna say, I hope my daughters are lucky enough to have an AP like you, especially my daughter that's going into high school. You have great skills of just, I know this is role playing, but very good, just rapport skills, and you're keeping things short and simple and
I
sweet,
appreciate
but
it.
also your approach about, really focusing on the student and their behavior, and you're not trying to just send kids out, and
Right.
it's about trying to change thinking, whether it's a parent that you're talking to or a student, and even if the philosophy is different from a Wake County policy or your own, I think you really have very impressive skills to be, I enjoyed listening to you.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Thanks for saying that, Tara, and I have to agree, because I think your interpersonal skills are really great, and would it be an exaggeration to say that most parents are upset when you call about discipline, or? Yeah.
I'm gonna say this, the very first one, the very first very upset parent, irate parent, prepares you for the rest of them. And, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, the very first time I had a very irate parent, it came out of nowhere. And at that moment, I understood that, the emotions that they feel, they may be real because it's their child. So, I have to really keep my emotions out of it. Don't try to go in the back and forth, stick to the facts. Try to get them back down to a level that we can have a conversation. If that doesn't happen, then we have to end it and try again, that kind of thing. So, you learn fast and, in a hurry with the students and the parents.
But this is all stuff that you learn on the job.
Oh, yeah.
Classwork and books aren't going to necessarily
Yeah, not for all of them, no.
Yeah. But knowing the school board policy, knowing how to do a student due process right, such that you do respect kids' rights, but also have a safe, secure learning environment is critical. Other questions for Terrance? These are good.
What are you over top of as far as your administrative duties?
At the high school level, we go over departments. I'm over math, the math department, and health and living PE. I'm dealing with 9th grade discipline right now. We do grade level, and I have someone working with me closely to help me out with that. I do things like walkthrough observations for the school. I do, right now I'm working on the staff development, professional development for the teachers. That's something I'm leading up. This is a lot of smaller things like prom, the little things like that too, that we all divvy up and just have to get on,
Prom is a small thing. That tells you
Yeah.
about high school. And high school is pretty different than middle or elementary. How many APs at Sanderson High?
Well, we have 4 now. We had 5 last year. We got 4 now. So 1 per grade level.
1 per grade level plus the principal. And
Some have 5, some have 6 APs.
and everybody's organized differently. I would say, certainly elementary and middle are different than high school, but every high school I think is a little different as far as the way they break up guidance or break up grade level for discipline. But I don't think there's any one magic way to do it. Just spread your
Make sure try to make it as equitable as possible. Like if I'm doing transportation, then someone else is going to do, or maybe a department is more needy, that kind of thing, and just make sure it's equitable for everyone. Okay.
Yeah, 2 questions. How do you handle emancipated students? Is that, as far as discipline and consequences, I know because that conversation between you and Wolf when they're emancipated, that's
No
not,
parent involved.
You don't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dealing with those students, it stays with the kid.
Okay.
Everything I would do with a parent, it stops right there with the kid. A lot of times 18-year-olds feel like that they are emancipated, but they still have parents. So even though they're 18, if they have a guardian still, I'll still, in best practice, talk to the parents as well. Because when it comes down to it, the parent has the rights to make decisions for that child. But emancipated students, yeah, it's just, we talk with the kids, make sure they're aware of everything. I kind of support them. It kind of sounds funny, but if they choose to appeal, then I'll go through the process, let them know. That's part of our job too, let them know that there is an appeal process, things like that. I don't try to shorten them. Yeah.
And then another, how do you, extensive bullying, I know that's one of the hot topics this year. You given interventions, you told the student what to do, the bullying persists, you contact parents, the bullying persists. At what point do you, and the victim retaliates, at what point is it the school's responsibility versus the child's responsibility?
Good question. Bullying has been one of the toughest one for all of us. I just like when he told me about the kid messing with him. If he did that, and I know in good faith that he's tried his best to stay away and to do the right things, then I will use that to mitigate any consequence I give. I will use that in my consideration. Now, what happens is sometimes that student thinks they got the upper hand and they can fight, then nothing happens. If they still sometimes can have something happen based on how they handle the situation. If it's a repeated case and a kid is continuing to bully, then I would deal with consequences with bullying with that student and hopefully that will help curb that too, help with that intervention. It's just hard to keep kids, when they have social media that they're doing across computers, it's hard to keep them from not interacting at all. So it has to be a daily monitoring situation, yeah.
So what's your special ed pop at your school? Your pop?
20, maybe, just under that maybe. We have a nice percentage of.
So do you have many special ed suspensions?
Yeah, most of my long terms right now are students that with special ed. The ones I have that are long term, that I have recommended long term. Students with special needs. Some of my biggest suspensions come from our BST population, behavior support, where they're seriously emotionally disabled or behavior emotional. That's why I was talking about the manifestation meetings that we have to have. Those come into play,
So
and
you have a lot of
sometimes,
those?
yeah, and
Thanks, you.
yeah. I've had quite a few already, and it's been a quarter. I think I've had 4 or 5, which is a lot. 4 or 5 students, that I've had to have meetings with already.
And a lot of bit reviews.
Yes, yes, ongoing, ongoing.
What did you teach before?
I taught math and taught mathematics, for 6 years.
What was the biggest change going from teacher to administrator? 'Cause I'm kind of doing that now.
The biggest change is the instant relationships you have in the class, the positive relationship. If you don't catch yourself, you'll have relationships with only the students that are in your office, and you won't be able to get the relationships you're once used to having in the classroom. You only focus on the 20 that's giving you a headache every single day. So you have to catch yourself, make sure you're having the same positive interactions with everyone, trying to get into the classrooms and think about instruction versus just discipline. Those kind of things. You can't forget about the teachers. Yeah.
But the relationship with your colleagues changed
Yes, that does too.
very much.
You're a suit.
Did you
Yeah,
teach, did
sure,
you
Tom.
teach at Sanderson? Is that what you're talking
No, I
about?
taught at Fuquay High
Okay.
School.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
And then you moved
okay.
to
Yeah.
Sanderson as an
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which helps. My first year, I did an internship. That first internship year, that was a change by itself because I was teaching with them, then became an intern. So now I had different conversations I had to have. I had different things, interactions I had
At Fuquay High.
at Fuquay High. Yeah. Which changed things. And it naturally is going to happen. Luckily, the teachers respected my switch over, and they went with me. They agreed to listen or be respectful. All that. That can come into play when you're dealing with people that want to challenge you or things like that. So.
Is there a big challenge as far as personal when you held to a higher standard when you become an administrator, going from
The biggest thing, the biggest switch. I mean, when you're in your 4 walls in the class, the rapport you have with students is priceless. We know that. When you move into a situation with your assistant principal, you have to earn the trust of not just students but the teachers as well. Teachers. I mean, how do I know you're going to be fair? When you're doing my observation, those kind of things. Teachers, you have to earn the trust of those and the parents. So, my biggest issue is making sure that everybody, all the stakeholders, trusted that I was there 100%. I was committed. I cared. It wasn't just me going by the book or just trying to throw people. Teachers with this schedule because I don't like you, that kind of stuff. They have to trust that I have their best interest in mind. So, yeah.
Terrance, this hour has flown by.
I
That
guess,
was
yeah.
terrific.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming and sharing
Sure.
this experience with our
I
class.
enjoyed I have some other examples, but I can